And while everyone's having such a fun time, it's great to have Michael Vaughan joining us as well on this Resilience Esports FIFA 21 Invitational. And the good thing about what we're going to do today, we're going to talk the things we know best, which is we're going to talk cricket. But let me remind you too that while Michael earned a reputation being captain of England at a time when a lot of people in England thought beating Australia was banned, but Michael turned that perception around and now makes a living out of cricket as well, and so do I. He's got a very keen eye for football, by the way. So I'm going to be talking a little bit to Michael about football too, and about the heartbreak that goes with watching football in England. See, I started the slide already, Michael. But it's wonderful to have you join us on this wonderful event.
Yeah, I mean, an esport event, HARSHA. I can't believe that they've not got me and you playing against each other. The bit of FIFA, you mentioned football. Such a great event, trying to raise as much money as possible for the Magic Bus Foundation over there in India. Lorry Sports for Good, which is a charity that I've been associated with here in the UK for many, many years. Nelson Mandela launched the charity many years ago, and his saying was, sport has the power to change the world, and he's absolutely right. We're very fortunate to be involved in sport, and through our fortune of being around sports people, many sports people have got together and decided that sport can change the world. Sport does drive a huge factor of our society, of what we're about, and it's so important that we give that opportunity to absolutely everybody to participate.
I agree. I mean, there's so much in our world today that's divisive. Sport is bringing people together. Quick one before I start talking to Michael about sport and getting his views and having a conversation. I saw Magic Bus, Michael, very early in life. I met this guy called Matthew Spacey, who seemed to have enough energy to light up a city. He was here, there, everywhere. And he said he's getting people to play rugby, and because in India there's not a lot of rugby, getting people off the streets to get them to play football, bringing a lot of joy into their lives, and actually saw them playing football, and I saw it firsthand. And what that did was it took them off the dangers of being on the street, but it introduced them to the reality. And you know, Michael, our sport in cricket, you got a bat and a ball and 20 people can play. But in football, you just got one ball and 40 people can play. It's almost like the Pied Piper. Everyone is where the ball is and the rest of the field is empty. But everyone started to play football, and that migrated so beautifully into education. You go to school and you learn and you continue playing football. And so many thousands upon thousands very quickly started moving into schools. And these are two things that are really close to my heart, sport and education, because that's what taking people off the street. And I hope a lot of them actually come into the mainstream. What I enjoyed, Michael, even more was at the event that I was, the person conducting it was someone who had benefited from the program, gone to school, learned from it, and was now acting like a messiah, almost like calling people back in. So that was good to see. So while we have this conversation with Michael, we'll keep reminding you that this Resilience Esports Invitational is a fun event, but it's also a fundraising event. So from time to time, there will be a little strip at the bottom. If you click on it, you can make a donation. Then you can contribute to Sport for Good. You can contribute to Magic Bus, and you can be sure that it's a worthy cause. We wouldn't be here otherwise. It's a proper thing. But you also want to know about sport. This is also a sport event. And Michael, England and India, our countries are going to be playing cricket together soon. You were part of quite a few series in England. We didn't particularly like Michael because in one of the games he made 197, I think, something like that, something as ridiculous as that, 197, and he got Tendulkar bowled, neither of which was allowed.
Yeah, I mean, England versus India is always a very, very well documented series. Two powerhouses of the cricketing nations. The Indian women are participating against the England women at the minute. England are winning that series, but I think in a young 17-year-old, you found possibly the next star of world cricket in Burma as a young batter. I've not seen a young girl bat as well as that for many, many years. So that's great to see. Generally in test match cricket, when England play India over the last few years, once England get on a plane to go to India hammer England, and it's been the case. And once India get on a plane to come to England, whether the Indian fans like it or not, England generally hammer India because of the conditions. We've just seen India lose to New Zealand in the World Test Match Championship. New Zealand played better, but I thought it was a little bit unfair. You know, when you think that New Zealand had 2 Test matches, if you like, as a warm-up to play against India, it just felt a bit unfair on the Indian side.
I never thought, sorry to interrupt you, Michael, I never thought a proud captain of England would say that New Zealand used Test matches against England as a warm-up to play against India. What? Well, that's so much fun to hear.
It still looks to me, Harsha, if the ball moves around a bit, I would be concerned as an Indian fan about the batting. That top 6, it hasn't got big runs for a long period of time. You know, I think they've got to find a way of getting scores here in the UK. If they do, they've got the bowling attack to get 20 wickets. If we get a dry period of weather here in the UK, and it can happen, I know that might surprise you, it can happen. If it's very dry, India certainly will be, in my opinion, favourites because of the spin options. I think you've got seam bowlers that bowl very well in dry conditions. But if it's a moist few weeks and it's a bit cloudy and a bit wet, and the likes of Anderson, Broad, Wokes come into the game more so, I think India will find it very difficult, like they have done the last couple of times here in the UK. So I really do think it's dependent on the weather. If it's dry, India will be fancying it. If it's a bit moist and a bit overcast, I think England will be favourites.
Sun will come out, Michael. I remember the first time I ever went to England wide-eyed. In India, we didn't have a lot of foreign exchange in those days. We're not opened out to the world and really going on a shoestring budget. But that was a 90 tour. I'm just this young fellow trying to make a living. And the summer was so good, Michael. It was like you wanted to preserve every single day. I don't think there was a day's rain through the while the matches were on, except for the one day maybe early on. So hopefully we'll get that too. But what Michael says is something very interesting. That's why the word resilience is so important in the times that we're going to be able to fight the conditions. I saw England play in India, and the ball was turning square, but it was a straight ball that was getting people out. The ball that wasn't turning, the straight ball was getting people out. Now India go to England and the swinging ball will get India out. Although I thought England played a slight mean trick on India by giving New Zealand conditions for the test match against India. But it's a history that goes a long way back, you know. For a long time, Michael, a lot of our cricket thought was introduced by what we read from England. Pataudi, Tiger Pataudi's father played Test cricket for England. Ranjit Singh ji, Duleep Singh ji, all played Test cricket for England. So we've got a wonderful common history, and I'm delighted that the trophy, while there is a sponsored trophy as well, is the Pataudi trophy. I got to know Tiger Pataudi well. Averaged 35 in Test cricket, playing with one eye, and his story was a magnificent story, Michael. Never once said that if I had a second eye, I might have played better, and that's why I enjoy the word resilience. He was royalty, but he was resilient too, and we've got a long shared history, and I hope the charities can bring us together too.
Yeah, I mean, resilience plays such a big part in life. You know, that's why the charities involved in the eSport event is so important. You know, the Laureus Sports for Good Foundation, resilience is what we're asking of a lot of people. And I think more so it's opportunity. We, like most countries and the over 250 charity kind of partnerships that Laureus has with all these sporting charities, it is about getting, you know, kids off the street, you know, that are involved in necessarily not great things in terms of gangs, and it's not their fault sometimes. It's just that they're born into that kind of culture. So it's important that we create this opportunity and this resilience for people to be able to join sporting teams, join sporting networks, try and change their mindset from, you know, unfortunately being born into or being attached to this kind of culture, and try and bring them over to the culture of what sport is, which is togetherness, you know, that camaraderie, the fun element, the hard work, the sweat and tears of being in a sports team. They're the kind of gangs that I like to see young people involved in, not the gangs on the street causing a little bit of mischief. It's about being in the sporting gangs, and that's why I love working with the Laureus Sports for Good Foundation, because that's what we're trying to create, is that platform for everybody, that platform for everyone to get involved. Doesn't matter what sport you play, there's always a sport for you. It's if it's for me and you, Harsha, it's cricket, and it always has been and always will be. But you mentioned football, basketball plays a big part, yes, particularly here in the UK. So it's just trying to create that resilience and opportunity for people.
I'd like to thank a lot of people who actively participating in this Esport invitation. And for all of you watching as well, there's a link right at the bottom. Do click on that and do what you can, because that's going to help people get off the street. We in India are a very, very cricket country. It's in our blood. It's at the very core of our existence. And yet Magic Bus did it through football. And there is no greater team activity than football. And I say that in spite of the fact that my heart beats in cricket. And I know Michael's does too as well. And he's been a bit on the edge of his seat recently at the Euros, Michael.
It really has been a roller coaster. It's like up and down, and you get disappointed many times when you've had this expectation and this hope.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask you about Germany. England versus Germany. I've got friends from England who say you can prepare all you want and you turn up and Germany will beat you. So was England versus Germany in football a bit like for you playing Australia at cricket?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Harsha. It's monumental. I mean, and we're so used to, particularly in my lifetime, of just losing to Germany. You know, we generally play okay, but they beat us. They out kind of discipline, out kind of perform. They just always seem to have a structure that beats us. And even if it goes to penalties, you kind of go, well, you know, that's the norm. We're so used to doing that and losing to Germany. But that's why I say it's just been so calm. The professionalism, the manner of the victory against Germany, it was just too easy. We had one moment when Muller was through on goal at 1-0 and we thought, oh, here we go, he'll put it in the back of the net. But this England side are good. You know, that's the crunch of it.
I was in England in 2018 watching, unfortunately I watched the Croatia game from a hotel room in Nottingham, so we won't talk about that. Before we come to cricket, ever played FIFA?
Yes.
And
yes,
was there a footballer you wanted to be? Was there a footballer you wanted to be? If you thought, I'm playing this FIFA game, but actually the whole universe is conspiring to pass the ball to me.
Well, I would say Ronaldo, Messi. You know, I'm a massive football fan, and I've played FIFA quite a lot, particularly when I used to tour with England back in the early 2000s. We would spend many nights playing FIFA. I was Man United, Ashley Giles was Arsenal, Graham Thorpe was Chelsea, and we used to have hours
and Arsenal always won.
No, actually, I managed to sneak them. Sneak them. You know, FIFA's it's one of those games that you play, but the problem is you then want to go and try and emulate it in the garden and try and copy what you've just produced on the computer screen. But great fun. The way the world's changed, Harsha, that now we're having esports competitions like we are today. Fly Club, if you want to donate, that's what today's all about, a fundraising event for Magic Bus and the Laura Sports for Good Foundation. But how the world has changed, it's remarkable what's happening, and for the better. I think it's a way of communicating. A lot of these kids, you know, they need to communicate, and if one way of communication is by playing each other on a FIFA game, that's fantastic.
Dare I say it, the last time I saw a recorded FIFA game, it was faster than the original. It was, they are so good. I've always wondered, I've never played it myself, but I've always wondered, how do the passes reach exactly where they're meant to? In real football, you know you're crossing, you know the left back's making a run, you know he's clear, you pass to him. Oh, I find it fascinating. So all you guys who are playing this program, fantastic. Before we end, I want to bring Michael back to cricket. He talked briefly about England, India, and playing together. Is there a player that excites you? I'll tell you about the player in England that excites me. Is there an Indian player or a couple of Indian players that excites you and you'd look forward to because you're going to be working on that series?
Yeah, I think you've got the most exciting player in the world, and he's a player that just recently, you know, he played a shot in the second innings of the World Test Match Championship final. He was criticised for it. He's going to be that player that has those kind of moments on a regular basis. That's Rishabh Pant. And I just beg people to just let him be. Just let him play, because, you know, sport needs flamboyancy. It needs people, personnel that do things that necessarily aren't from the textbook, because that's why we love it. And I just think in Rishabh Pant, whether he should stay at number 6, I question. Maybe number 7 would be the better position if he's going to play in that flamboyant way all the time. I just love players that look like they're playing, you know, under the spotlight of pressure. And playing for India, there's no more of a spotlight on a sports person than playing for the Indian national cricket team. And he looks like he's playing in the garden. And that's the biggest trait and the best compliment I can give a player is if you can look like you're just enjoying playing like you used to in your backyard or in the garden or on the street, please don't stop. Carry on being that person, playing in that fashion. And I hope Ravi Shastri, Virat Kohli, they'll have quiet words of making sure that there are times when, you can't always play one way. That would be the advice I said. You can't always play one way, but please don't take away that cheekiness, that positivity that he brings to the game. I think he's a wonderful cricketer.
And it looks like India might have a full-strength England team to be up against. For a while, England didn't seem to want to put out a full-strength team because they were resting. Chris Woakes didn't play for a long time, played a couple of games, he was rested again. We know the whole story about Johnny Bairstow. It'll be a fantastic series. England at full strength. India hopefully not losing too many people like happened in Australia, though that result was fantastic too. And we'll get a great series. But Michael said something very interesting about Rishabh Pant looking like he's playing in the garden. He just brings the freedom of children's cricket almost to the international platform. We all look at him and say, oh, he would have loved to play like that. And so the one thing I will tell all people is if you've got a 7-8-year-old who's enjoying it, please don't put him in academies. Just let him have fun, let her have fun. And then when they get better, maybe start to push them there. And the power of sport to make things happen is unparalleled. I've seen that with Magic Bus. Michael's seen that with Sport for Good. And if you can maybe just convert your passion for sport into something nice, you can just click on the link, make a little donation. What I can assure you is from what I've seen with Magic Bus, and Michael will say that with Sport for Good and what Lores is doing as well, that it will go to using sport for a good cause. Eventually, Magic Bus puts children in schools. And as someone who grew up just outside a city in Hyderabad and I saw young children not going to school, I realized how schools can change people's life. I remember one day I'm sitting, Michael, with a colleague of mine in the car, and his driver's driving. He was managing director of a company, and the driver's daughter was an air hostess with Jet Airways. And I thought that is what education does. It opens lives, it opens careers for you, and I hope we can do that. So on that note, thank you very much for joining us. It will be 2-0 to India at the end of the Test series, but I get that out of the It'll be a good series, and yeah.
Where are you going to get some draws from in the UK? You don't get draws here in the UK. They generally last 3.5 days. I know.
Okay, we'll go 3-2 to India. It'll rain one of those days, and there is no sixth day. But I've enjoyed this conversation, Michael, as I always do, because underneath this very modern, occasionally on social media, provocative veneer is someone whose heart beats for sport. I've seen that, and that is a side of Michael I'm delighted that we saw today. Someone's heart beats for sport and contributes for it. So all of you esports fans, all of you esport champs, and all of you watching in, if it means you've got to play esport, play esport. If it means playing cricket in the backyard, play cricket in the backyard, kick a ball around and contribute a little bit to allow other people to do that. Thank you very much, Michael, and look forward to the series.
Cheers, guys.